Aravind, thank you so much for joining us. Super excited for this conversation, especially because I use Perplexity every day for different things. Um, as a power user of Perplexity, the magic of Perplexity that kind of stands out for me stands out in three things. One is I can be a lazy prompter. I can just write a bunch of words, and it kind of figures out intent.
Yeah.
That's one. The second is the citation first approach, which just helps instill that trust in what I'm looking for. And third is the follow-up questions that helps me just dig in deeper. I was just curious, was this intentional scaffolding when you started the product and the company, or did it emerge as the product developed further?
Maybe the last thing, definitely, the follow-up questions is something it emerged as a follow-up. But the first two things were very intentional. We absolutely wanted to minimize the time to ask a question, the effort to ask a question, including details. Like, for example, you go to perplexity.ai, the website. You can actually start typing directly. You don't have to take your mouse and put the cursor at the search bar. It's all automatically ready for you to start typing. These are decisions you make from a product design standpoint, just to minimize the time to a query. Obviously, the better product is the one that lets the user, offers the user more convenience. Like you say, you want to be a lazy prompter. Why is it nice to be a lazy prompter? Because it's more convenient to be a lazy. Like, you just want to type in a few keywords, and like 2 decades of Googling have kind of gotten us used to that, because at the end, a query on Google is less about the search and more about the intent.
Right.
So all AI answer engines or chatbots have to kind of satisfy that convenience people are already used to, while offering them something new, which is giving answers instead of just links. So we definitely worked on that. The citation is basically I would say that one particular feature, if you ask, that makes whatever made us unique and still we're known for, is making sure every sentence in the answer is supported by a source. And that comes from my academic background, which is the first thing I was taught when I wrote an academic paper was every sentence you write has to be having a peer-reviewed article as a citation. Otherwise, you can just end up writing some things that you just believe in, but may not have a peer-reviewed paper to back it up. And that principle, if you bake it into a chatbot, an AI chatbot, it turns out it's pretty powerful. It gives you the most accurate answers you can. So we established our focus as building a product where hallucination is a bug and accuracy is essential. And this is quite opposite to other people who are trying to build chatbots where hallucination was actually a feature. You were entertained by AIs making mistakes, making up stuff, saying things that you wanted to hear. The whole sycophant problem that exists in other chatbots today, which honestly is pushing the world to crazy levels where some people want to suicide in case the model changes and it no longer behaves like their friend. We don't have all these issues in Perplexity because our focus is purely on just answering questions that are accurate and have sources. And the follow-up thing is, again, we wanted to have people keep asking more questions. So in a world where AI is able to answer almost any question there is, because almost all the information to answer a question exists out there on the internet. That's the amazing aspect of it. What is that one skill that we should be good at, humans should be good at, is being able to ask the next question, keep digging deeper. Basically channel our most human quality that has existed since the dawn of time, which is human beings being curious. A baby is born curious. So it's a natural quality, but it doesn't always shine. And products that kind of exist today are fundamentally feeding us things, pushing content to us rather than letting us explore and be on our own and giving us that agency to do that. So giving at least certain ideas for follow-up questions is a great way for people, pushing people to new directions. They don't have to click on the follow-ups we suggest, but it could give them ideas that, okay, hey, I can actually keep going. And, oh, wow, I never thought about asking that, so I could try to ask more things about that.
I have a follow-up question based on that answer. You spoke about two things, right? One is design, intentional design. The other is accuracy. So when you think of intentional design, there are a lot of things about the intentional design, right? From the, I would say, firstly, a simple interface. That's one. To a simple, clean interface. To well-formatted answers, so that you can skim through very quickly and kind of see what's right and what's not. The auto scroll feature, the low latency. There's so many things that have been thought through. I'm curious, what was the inspiration for these? Who and what products were the inspiration for these fundamental design choices?
Yeah. So one thing I told our head of design, and I still keep telling him that, is kind of make the UI feel like Kindle, where even if the answer is long, it's a delight to actually keep reading. And there are a lot of decisions that Kindle made to accomplish that, like what font it is, giving people the options to light and dark mode, the colors that are there other than just the white and black. Like even the white that we use on Perplexity is not bright white that other websites have, and some users didn't like that. They kind of wanted the flashy pixels, but like your eyes are not gonna be able to read for quite long if it's too bright. And similarly, like the contrast between the font's color and the background color is important too. So we definitely thought about that. I mean, of course, I did not make all these micro decisions myself, but I definitely pushed them to think about these, have these as considerations. We did have this whole branding should feel like a Scandinavian metro station. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Where did that come from and this? But that was more like when you look at a metro station, you just take it for granted that everything works. Trains arrive on time, leave on time, and especially in Europe, it's always the case. It's rare to find a train that doesn't arrive on time. And you look at the map, you quickly understand all these different lines. These are all things that no one even thought about. How did they even design all this so well? So that's how we wanted our product to feel. We wanted it to feel intuitive enough that any newcomer doesn't have to be an AI enthusiast or a prompt engineer. We wanted to build a product that your mom and dad can use and and keep using, right? Derive joy from using it. So that's one thing we kept in mind. Definitely latency is essential. So I think us, along with many others, came up with this trick of streaming the answer word by word. That is one way to trick you into thinking our product is fast, when in reality, if you wait for the entire answer to be generated before beginning to generate it, it's going to feel really slow. It's going to take 4 or 5 seconds, 6 seconds. But if I start streaming the answer in a second or two, you feel like it's pretty fast. And while you're reading along with the answer getting streamed. So those are things we did that were pretty unique. And then for answers that were even more sophisticated, more complex questions, where it had to do multiple searches and not just one, parallel and sequential searches, we streamed the intermediate steps, like how the question's getting broken down into parts, what are all the sources that are being read, and that also is essentially a trick into making the user feel like the AI has already began to do its work and you can follow its progress before the answer is getting generated. So it's all a trade-off of hey, this query is quite difficult, so I do need to spend some amount of compute on it. Otherwise, I'm very likely to generate something incomplete or inaccurate. And that's the worst thing to do for the user than just giving something really quickly. Right. These are the kind of trade-offs that you can make with a more general system compared to something that's very link-based like Google. Yes, Google does give you widgets, one boxes, extracted snippets, sometimes the overviews, which are cached. It's a system that's heavily optimized for giving the answer in under a second. That's their job. That only works for a certain class of queries. yes, that certain class of queries is almost like 10 billion daily queries. That's amazing. It's massive at the scale of human population. But human beings are much more natural at asking questions rather than typing keywords, especially when we interact with systems via voice. It's much more natural to just speak like a person rather than like typing in like keywords. So this behavior is actually going to grow and become even bigger than Google's query volume today. And we are still in the very early days of that. And so it's much easier for us to do all those widgets as specific cases. Like what time is it in London? We can generate the answer in like 200, 300 milliseconds today in Perplexity also. But Google, on the other hand, cannot build a general system that combines like the conversational experience, link-based experience, graphs, widgets, everything in like one particular UI. And I haven't even talked about putting those 15 ads, right? So that's another problem they have. So I think like we learned all these things along the way. It's not like we thought about it in like the first few months of founding the company and decided this is the way to go. But we are over time, we've always made decisions that let us do things in a more general, scalable fashion.
I'll come back to Google in a bit because there's a big topic of Google that I want to talk about as well. But like you spoke about trade-offs in the inference layer, which is like essentially the post-training layer. So there's something happening in pre-training which you're not touching. You're doing a lot in post-training. You've also there's entire orchestration that happens from getting the query in to like going and crawling the web, extracting answers, curating it, presenting it back, synthesizing and presenting it back. You've built LLMs in-house as well, Sonar and others, and you're also taking other off-the-shelf LLMs as well. It boils down to accuracy at the end of the day.
Yeah.
What are the accuracy trade-offs in this entire orchestration that keep you up at night?
Well, like I said, like there are multiple classes of queries, multiple levels of difficulty. Let me give you a small example. Like you could ask a query that's like, who's the richest person in the world today? And it has to say it's Larry Ellison, whatever, right? Like today, it's a very unique day that happened because of the movement in the Oracle stock. That query is probably easy to get even like today night or tomorrow morning after all the news has percolated throughout the web. But in that 1 hour, when the market opened up and the Oracle stock was up by 30 to 40%, you got to get it right at that moment in time when everyone's searching about it. So that's why it's very hard to build evals for real-time accuracy. So you can still do that with like constructing a static version of what the internet was at that moment in time, with like static snippets that existed at that moment in terms of what documents get pulled up for that query, and keep doing these evals. But in general, it's a pretty challenging problem to do accuracy evals for real-time information. And then there's accuracy for questions that do not need real-time information, but still need a good amount of reasoning with existing information, right? So like what's the age gap between like say Bezos and his wife or something like that? Like you do want to get their accurate birth dates, you don't want to get their ages, you want to get subtract their ages. It's like 3 or 4 steps, right? You shouldn't just pull up some link that some random blogger or like some website wrote about their age gap and like try to answer it. You could still do that, but what if that was inaccurate? So there are like so many things to be considered, or like what was the stock price of NVIDIA when the black lows were announced. Like these are like pretty difficult queries to get. So we do have our own like Perplexity bench that has varying levels of difficulty, and we do track the accuracy on all these different metrics. And sometimes a better model just makes everything work well, and that model may not even have been optimized for our benchmark. And sometimes like our own models that are specifically optimized for the Perplexity bench end up outperforming like the best model that's being offered at that moment in time by one of the frontier labs. So we're very comfortable with this approach of routing queries to different models based on what each model is good at. That could be based on like the Perplexity bench, or it could be just based on some like tacit knowledge that was only relevant for the few weeks that, this class of models were good at coding queries, this class of models are good at code execution. So any query that actually has to do multiple steps of reasoning and then write some piece of code to write an answer, you probably want to route it to like this model. And this knowledge also keeps getting deprecated pretty fast because these model labs compete with each other for who has the most capable model in time, at any moment in time. So we make all these trade-offs all the time. So that is the best part of working at Perplexity or on the Perplexity product that the model labs never get, is we get to see all the shortcomings and the strengths of all these different models from a very unique vantage point of like the one singular goal of accuracy, and that's very useful. And honestly, what I've seen time and again is like no model like ends up staying at number one position for a long time. Costs keep coming down, the latency keeps improving, new capabilities keep arising, and then you can do a lot more things beyond just answers. Like you can have all these models start to take actions on the user's behalf that allows you to like be even more ambitious in your roadmap and build new products that you never envisioned to build in the beginning, like the Comet browser. So it's really fun. At the same time, you cannot always assume that models will keep getting smarter. Sometimes the labs hit their plateaus, and so there's a lot of domain-specific work we do too. For example, bringing in data specific to verticals like finance or health or weather, like all these different queries where data providers exist. You don't actually just have to use the web for that, and you can bring a lot of depth in your specific vertical.
Are those verticals inspired by consumers using Perplexity? Are they inspired by your enterprise business because you also have a B2B play as well? How do you think of like your early interest in verticals?
I mean, I would like to say yes to both your questions, but honestly, it's just like sometimes I'm just using the product and I feel like we gave the wrong answer for a query, and I'm telling the team to, hey, let's work on this vertical.
Yep.
It's not like that sophisticated as, like if we work on this vertical, we're going to get this $10 million contract and our revenue will go up and I can raise in the funding round. It's not that complicated. Though I would like to like start making decisions like that. But honestly, that's not motivating to anyone, right? Like, tell me a good engineer who wants to like work on a vertical just because it'll help us raise a little bit of money.
Totally.
No one wants to do that.
Yep.
I think they all want to think like they work on exciting, challenging, interesting problems that are fun and like, and then like the consequences of that, if it's a better round or better valuation or more revenue, so be it.
Right.
So that said, there is one framework we use, which is what is the fundamental purpose of this product or the company is to deliver accurate AI. So what are some verticals where accuracy is essential? Like you cannot do without it. Finance is one thing, health is one thing, legal. All these are verticals where without accuracy you're completely like having a terrible product. And imagine like people making decisions based on answers provided by an AI, and the numbers in it are all wrong. It cannot do simple math. Like I know people make fun of the fact that the OpenAI models cannot count the R's in strawberry, or like in fact like now the flip thing is there. How many strawberries are in R, and it'll still say 3. It's kind of funny. So you got to care about some of these things in terms of like where do you want to like make your difference, and then nail those queries, get the data from the right APIs rather than using some random information from the model itself or on the web. Write reliable Python code in case the user is asking for a chart. Make sure the data pulled from the sources is accurately ported onto the code snippet. All these things, like different models are good at different aspects, so make sure to use the right models in the stack. So I've already told you like some 5 or 10 different things. So like there exist like hundreds of different small details in the Perplexity product. And interestingly, even if these details were like public, it doesn't even matter. Like it'll get deprecated in a couple of weeks.
Right.
And so there is really no intentional modes that are being built in any of these things. We just do what's right by the user, what's right by our goal of providing accurate answers, and we keep doing it. That's the mode. Like keep doing this repeatedly at a rapid pace and expanding your user base and having the infra to serve at scale. That's our goal. So today we have several queries. I've already mentioned this publicly. We do more than 300 million queries every week. So that's like billions of queries a month. On the first day, we did 3,000 queries in a day. So we came really, really far. And so I always try to think like we're still we can still have that exact compounding effect even from today, because the amount of questions someone can ask is infinite, because the curiosity of a person is infinite, and the population that we haven't even reached to is so large. Our user base is still tiny relative to the world's population.
Coming back to the quintessential question of Perplexity versus Google, and you've often said this, that it's not a search engine, it's a knowledge discovery platform, it's an answer engine.
Yeah.
And I did a quick Perplexity search before coming here. Is Perplexity better than Google? And it gave me a very pragmatic answer.
So we have to give an accurate answer. So
it said, for research and direct answers, Perplexity seems better. And for broad navigational commercial queries, Google still wins.
yeah.
How often do you think about winning against Google?
I mean, you cannot win against the Goliath like that in 3 years, right? It takes decades. Maybe we'll never win against them. As long as we win, I'm happy. I think they're a phenomenal company. It's like, it's not just Google Search that's part of Alphabet. Maybe Alphabet is the right way to put it. There's Google Cloud, there's YouTube, there's Chrome, Android, Gmail, Google Workspace. There's a lot of products they have, and they're going to keep making money on many of them. I think the inevitable thing that's happening, and they've definitely realized that too, is search is definitely changed. And we are very happy, proud that we brought in the change. And other chatbots have also adopted sources. Gemini is also doing that. Google's also putting a lot of weight behind Gemini. So the world has definitely changed, and we are very happy to even have this much market share. And literally the top 3 productivity apps in the US App Store right now are ChatGPT, Gemini, and Perplexity. And the first one is 50% owned by Microsoft. Second one is Google. We are the only independent little tech here. And so a lot of the companies that began along with us when we started are no longer even there. They've been acquired, the founder acqui-hire thing, or they're just not there. So I think that speaks volumes of why we are relevant and continue to operate here. It's because our product is unique and we move really fast. So I'm actually very much happy to compete with them, and also realize that us building a multi-$100 billion company does not mean they will cease to exist. They will definitely become a multi-trillion-dollar company for that. So I think our next step that we are taking as a company is to work on the comment browser, which I think will bring AI more natively to the browser. But that's just one part of it. The more exciting part of it, which at least the conclusion we have come to, is it's much easier to build the first real general purpose assistant that goes and does tasks for you, a luxury that only few people in the world have, but something that we can give in the hands of everybody, and also make the life of existing assistants a lot easier, is you got to work on at the browser layer for that, because while the world is still adapting to building MCP servers, none of them is really reliable. It's not always secure, and some people will just refuse to have MCP servers. The users don't care who has an MCP server and who doesn't. So it's all, and not everyone is sophisticated enough to set up local MCPs, right? So the browser solves all these problems. Perfect hybrid of client and server architecture. Reasoning can be on the server side, and if local models get better, we can put it on the local layer for all the users. That's even more secure. And then even if the front end of the browser doesn't matter 5 years from now, all the infrastructure to just open websites and click on things and do stuff for people, taking all the drudgery of the day-to-day work, we can accomplish that. And then all this whole aspect of just asking questions feels such a small thing compared to what you can accomplish with agents that go and do stuff for you. So that's our next step, and that's another way in which we're going to compete with Google there, because I'm sure Chrome will also get Gemini in a pretty deep manner. And then the last step, honestly, is something that we think is too far away, but I've spoken about this too, which is rethink the operating system on the phone. And I think the browser is essential first step to getting there. But honestly, if you can control the apps directly, that's even better.
You mentioned Chrome. What was the inspiration behind the Chrome acquisition offer or the bid?
Yeah, we made a bid. We made a bid, 34 and a half. Pretty precise numbers.
Why is that? Where did that number come from?
Well, it just came from, we looked, we did a Perplexity query, what is like a reasonable market estimate for Chrome, and it said 20 to 25 billion. So we did a premium on top of it, which is 34 and a half. The judge ruled that they don't have to sell, so they didn't reply back to me saying no thanks. But they could have done that on the day the ruling came out. But imagine if the ruling went the other way, you would be thinking I'm a genius. So,
you still think that?
No, thank you. Yeah. So I mean, you lose all the shots you don't take. So I think we just felt like if they were forced to divest Chrome, we wanted in the hands of a company that can keep Chrome and the open source Chromium project active. We were actively building the common browser, so we felt like we acquired some credibility to work on this in terms of understanding of browsers, contributions to Chromium. Our engineers are pretty familiar with that. So we felt like it was actually not that far-fetched. It is slightly far-fetched, but not as far-fetched as people make it out to be. And everyone was like, oh, they don't have the money, the valuation is way lower than that. No, there were enough people wanting to fund this as long as the judge rules that it has to be sold. So that was actually the blocker, not the fact that we didn't have the money or anything.
Going back to your origin roots, right? Origin of Perplexity. Founders today are trying to figure out what part of the stack to build in. Infrastructure layer, application layer, within the application layer, consumer, B2B, within B2B, what exactly we should focus on. Obviously, starts from the pain point first.
Yeah.
But it seems like that the two foundational principles right behind Perplexity. One is as the models become better, the product becomes better because you are the product. The second is you're going on data flywheels. As you get more user data, you personalize yourself better. Is there anything is that the right framework to think about it? And again, beyond that, how did you think of consumer first versus something else? How did this come to be so that founders in the room can have a good framework to think about where they need to build in the stack?
I mean, all the things you said are like stuff I agree with, but also I think everyone knows that by now that you do need to be building a product where there's a whole famous the Sam Altman thing, right? You'll get steamrolled if you build something that the next model will do. All that stuff, I think people get it. But the solution for that is not okay, let's assume OpenAI solves that, let me work on things that they're not going to work on. And I've never found that to be a good framework because let me give you an example. There are companies that work on the legal vertical. And the assumption is that the big labs don't care about it. That's not true. The amount of CapEx they have, the only way to justify that is to make a lot of revenue. And they have the resources to go hire a lot of salespeople and have them one group of people only sell to the legal vertical. And if they get 80-20, the 80% of your offerings with a general enough model, such that the customer can upload proprietary data and it just does the RAG out of the box. All the stuff you build, all the workflows, bespoke workflows you build, kind of don't matter for majority of the people. And they have the power to do all this. So then the whole thesis is incorrect, right? And I've believed in this pretty religiously that never make decisions based on what someone else will do. Because if you're successful, if you make several hundreds of millions of dollars in annual recurring revenue, and it has the potential to multiply, every $1 billion in revenue matters for a model lab right now. Because it's not they're making 100 billion in revenue. And then if a model lab does this, then Google, Microsoft will also do it. That's what we're seeing that happen in the coding space, right? Like everybody thought like Cursor is safe, but no one thinks that way. For Perplexity, we believe that at least the search and indexing problem is pretty hard. In fact, it's widely agreed upon that building reliable search, indexing, ranking, crawling, and real-time knowledge, extremely fast, efficient, and is a harder problem than even building GPT-5. That doesn't mean to say GPT-5 is easy. It's that search is much harder. Because there's no distillation of that knowledge. It's largely acquired by engineers at Google, some at Bing, and then some at Yandex, and other companies that are trying to do this. But it's still very hard to aggregate a group of people who know how to do this reliably. So we felt very comfortable working on the problem. Even if it's going to take 5 years to build an index that's as amazing as Google's, we don't care. We'll just keep working on it. And so while everyone's searching for like gold, which is like the best models, we're going to search for diamond, which is knowledge, real-time accurate knowledge, which, of course, the way you present it, either it's presented in the form of links or answers or agents that plug into search indexes hundreds of times for a deep research experience, or an agent that actually goes and buys stuff for you, which completely renders the whole ads around links irrelevant when it actually works. It's going to take time to do all these things, but the infrastructure is timeless and it's there to stay. And we are focused on that, so we feel very comfortable about the competition with labs. So that's what I would recommend to people. Is there like some engineering problem that you think everyone is overlooking or not interested in or taking it for granted or thinking that's just a tool call, who cares about it, let me go build whatever everyone else is building? Then like you have something there. Like there is something worth building a company around, and that's what we did.
Very thoughtful. I know we've run out of time, but I haven't run out of questions. I have one last question before I let you go, because I have you right now. At what point do you see Perplexity evolve into, like, since it's all about like your search for the next thing, it's all about curiosity at the end of the day. At what point does Perplexity evolve into a product where it can actually work alongside you to get you to a net new answer which didn't exist online? It's like something.
You mean like knowledge?
Let's say you're working on a science experiment, or you're building a rocket, and like it helps you make the right design choices because it works alongside you, because it doesn't just help retrieve information, it also helps reason along with you and gets you to a net new answer, which will again go back into becoming an index for Perplexity.
I see. I think that's an interesting idea. Like indexing the answers that Perplexity generates with a mix of reasoning and existing information, and using that again to like answer further questions. I think it's definitely an interesting idea. I haven't thought deeply about it. Definitely, like what counts as reliable, accurate knowledge, especially when it's reasoning and making a guess on what is likely to be the answer, still is like pretty difficult to acquire. It still has to be independently verified by others.
Right.
So it's hard to do this real time.
Yeah.
So my hope is that like some answer that Perplexity generates with its own independent reasoning and existing web tools and other APIs is useful enough for the author of that research paper or design, and they put it on the web, and that's been verified and others agree with it. And then it automatically goes to the index of Perplexity.
Right.
So if the speed at which people do science and engineering and experimentation just dramatically accelerates, and people still continue sharing science in an open manner, I feel like this problem is solved. But I'm not sure if people will continue sharing science in an open manner. Like that's essentially the challenge. If that is the case, then I don't think we can solve the problem. Like it's all going to be hidden behind APIs and like paywalled articles or something like that.
Sounds good. Aravind, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
This is a great masterclass.
Thank you.